Hello, folks. Welcome to the North End.
This is the North End. This is the North End.
What's up, people? I'm here with David and JP, and we're back. It's been a bit, but we're here. We're gonna talk a lot of stuff going on, man. There's a lot. It's post season, new management in, purchases potentially happening. We're going to start off a little bit with saying hello first. Connie, it's been ages. We haven't really done a show together or done a show like this in a while. But good to see you, brother. How are you? How's things?
Boys, good to be back. I've been away for a while. My bad, but I've been excited for this all day. I'm like, I just want to see the boys and chat a little bit of football. I'm doing great. Happy to be here. Good
stuff, buddy. Good stuff. JP in California and the one and only sir. How are you? Good to see you, man. What's up?
School is out, so I am kind of jobless a little bit for the next little bit, and it is beautiful weather. Just barbecued up a steak. It's good. It's good days.
Nice.
Dude, what are you talking about? You just said the dog stole your garlic bread. You had to
fight steak.
Yeah, but it was like my third piece. I'm like,
Nice.
What's up, Liam? How we doing, dude?
Yeah, Liam in the comments. What's up, Liam? How you doing, buddy? It's been an eventful day. Obviously, I think we'll start off with a bit of the news that's gone on. The Leo Messi coming to the MLS, Inter Miami, a team who's currently in last place in the Eastern Conference, and not having a good season at all. But obviously has a connection with owning property in Miami, and as well as arguably probably friends with Beckham in some capacity. That's why he's gone there. But wow, I mean, this is incredible for us, for people who live over here. I can't wait to see him play. It'll be probably the first and only time we'll get to see him play if he's fit. When he comes to Toronto. Connie, your thoughts on this and the weight of this. This is a massive thing for him to come to North America.
It is, and I will say this off the top because I know it was reported this way. I'm still not 100% sold on the fact that he still might not be loaned out to Barcelona for the beginning of the season.
I never even thought of that.
There was talk of this a couple of weeks ago, and Inter Miami were brought up, but it was reported today that that's not the case. That hasn't been finalized. So I'll get to the MLS thing in a minute because it's huge. So we obviously can't talk about. We got to talk about the elephant in the room as well. Apparently, after it was announced, another offer from the Saudi League of $1.5 billion for 3 years. That's another topic we'll have about Saudi investment.
I think we can get into that after the Messi because they're related, and we can talk about a lot of the other players recently, like the Conte and yada yada. But go on.
But what a coup if he does end up at Inter Miami. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen the package, but Apple throwing a lot of money, MLS, Pepsi, like very Beckham-esque with
ownership
of
the club.
But not even that. A potential if he wants to have his own franchise. So, guys, we're talking about Leo Messi. In my opinion, the greatest player to ever kick a ball.
Agreed.
Probably still has a couple of good years left in him. Biggest thing to ever happen in the MLS. If it's true, I'm still saying keep your eye out for something with Barcelona in a loan because I don't know.
It's hard to get away from that. JP, you mentioned earlier just in the back end of our WhatsApp chat, the price of the tickets obviously going up like
oh my goodness,
$40 to $600 quickly.
Yeah.
What effect does this have financially for the market in North America, and then also just like the buzz that it's obviously created?
I honestly think that this is definitely bigger than David Beckham. This is probably the biggest thing to hit the MLS
ever.
The financial implications of this are going to be just astronomical. I'm going to honestly, I think this is honestly just raised every MLS team's value by 50 million, 100 million right off the bat. Like you're literally saying now this league has Lionel Messi, who will be coming to your team, and you are going to have a packed house at least. And that's not just regular ticket, not tickets against Miami. Every MLS game ticket just raised about $10. Like things are going crazy right now.
I think sorry, Connie. I do think that is an inevitability. And I think that it's been measured already that because he's come to the MLS, everything has gotten more valuable, whether it's the clubs and the players themselves. but also just recognizing that if you get to go, if you decide where do I want to go? Do I want to go to the Saudi League, the Chinese Super League? Do I want to stay in Europe and go down a tier? Or do I want to go to play in MLS and maybe get to play against Messi? Which, what are you going to choose? So everything, there's an inevitability to that.
Sorry, I was just going to add a comment. I know what you're saying, JP, and I get what you're saying, but I think what it does do, and putting it another way, is adds credibility to the league for other players. It's almost like what's happening with the Saudi thing with the Ronaldo move, and we'll get into that with the Conte. But my question about you guys, and I wonder this, and I think the answer's got to be yes. Is this going to turn the heads of other players in Europe? Be like, oh, MLS, Messi's there. Something I should need.
Well, that's what I was just talking about. That's like, like if you're a player, which league should I go to? Well, Messi went here. Like you might change your mind as, oh, Saudi's going to pay me more, but I get to play in this league. We all have to admit, as much as the MLS is not, a top European league, the quality of the football has improved considerably in the last 5 to 6 years. It is a league that I enjoy watching in whatever game I'm watching. It's good football. It's not great football. It's, I would say, championship level with a bit more technical ability and less quality, if that makes sense.
It does.
You know what I mean? And there's some good technical players, but the quality isn't quite.
It's a good comparison. Very good.
But it's a fun league to watch. And then you get a player like Messi who can come in and, arguably up the level across the board. I'm excited by it. I think it's really good for the league, and I hope other players kind of get that same feeling.
I'm super excited about this. I looked for Galaxy tickets and LAFC tickets, and those are about 35, 40 minutes from my house. Their tickets went from $30 or $40 a ticket to over $500 a ticket in 24 hours, which is incredible. To me, there's two giant images that just got made over in one day. One is that Inter Miami is kind of a laughing stock among MLS supporters. Like, yeah, David Beckham owns them, but they suck. They can't get a coach that's good enough. They can't figure it out. They just can't get things to go right on the field. They
get whatever coach they want, they get now.
Yeah, apparently they're going to go get the Messi Barcelona Argentina coach, and I can't remember his name.
Gallardo, are you talking about?
Is it Tete?
No, Gallardo is who I was thinking. Who coached?
It's a guy who's coached at Barca, and he coached the Argentine national team. This is going to be the third time he's actually coached Messi. The word is that he is coming to Inter Miami as well. So that's a whole new image for Inter Miami, and this kind of remakes the MLS image. You guys all know that back in the middle 2010s, it was seen as like the retirement home, and in the last 8 to 5 years, they've kind of been seen as the young Latin America, South American destination on their way to Europe, right?
Yep.
MLS.
Stepping stone.
Feeder league. Feeder league.
But a good one.
Now you're getting the best player in the world. And yes, he might be near the tail end of his career, but it's the best player in the world. You're talking about ultimately the best player in South American history.
In world history, I think,
What do you mean? History of the game.
Huge.
Here's a question I have for you two guys. Do you think Messi goes into this? Messi's a competitive guy. Messi's always want to win, whether it be Champions League, Barcelona, PSG. Do you think if he actually is going to play it Inter Miami, he starts looking around and be like, okay, time to beef up this squad. I need 3, 4, 5, 6 other guys I know
100%.
I played with. They're coming. I will be shocked if he doesn't bring in at least 3 or 4 other guys that he handpicks to say, let's beef up this team.
We need to up the levels.
Yeah.
I think there's an
inevitability. Alba.
There's an inevitability of that for sure, and I think that that'll be good for the league because the levels will go up and hopefully they're maintained. We could talk about this forever, guys, because it's an amazing thing. But I do want to move on a little bit to the Saudi League, which is kind of like the competitor which you spoke about earlier, Dave, in that they're throwing money at everything, right? Like it's ridiculous. We got N'Golo Kante who's gone there. Benzema, who's just went there, who I just think is like throwing away.
Ronaldo.
I mean, I guess throwing away Ronaldo is the obvious one, but throwing away like your care about football and just going for money. I guess that's sort of what when you get to a certain age. But Benzema just won the Ballon d'Or a season ago and just won the league. I mean, he's
won the Champions League 4 or 5 times.
Strikers in world football right now.
I would counter that. He's not young anymore. And think about, what does he have? 4 Champions Leagues, a Ballon d'Or. You look at that Real Madrid squad, they got manhandled by Man City. I think their Champions League, especially look at the new midfielders, and they're rejuvenating it. Modric, they're kind of going a little bit
But
like this, but they're
I
going to
agree with that, but to go from Real Madrid to the Saudi league, it's like you'd expect a few more seasons. I know, and of course that's what I'm saying. There's
that amount of money. When I
ridiculous.
read the
It's
amount
absurd.
of money Kareem Benzema is getting in the Saudi league, like it's fucked up. And,
It's gross.
again, I won't
hold
argue
it
with
against them.
If he'd never won a World Cup, I don't know if he was on that World Cup squad. If he'd never won all those Champions Leagues, the Ballon d'Ors, and let's say he was 29, I'd be like, okay, what's going on here?
Can't we hold it against them though? Like these are guys.
I would.
I got.
Hear me out quickly, because this is what I love about what Messi said today, and I do think that this is important, and I think that this is another reason why I love the guy, because I think he is genuinely aware of his effect and what it's going to have on world football and going to the MLS. And he said, I'm not making this decision for the money. I'm not saying he's not getting paid. Of course, we know that. We just went through the details of the money he's going to get and the opportunity he's going to get. But it isn't the same as what he would get in the Saudi league.
No,
the Saudi league, he'd be billions of dollars being thrown at him for just playing, right? There's levels to each of these scenarios. I think that players like Benzema, like Ronaldo, like Messi don't need the money. They're going to get paid a ton of wherever they go. What Messi's doing, what I think is great, is that he's doing more than just what's financially good for him at the end of his career, the closer towards the end of his career. He's making his decisions based on what's good for football, and I'm not getting that from a Benzema and from a Ronaldo. It's for them, and Saudi Arabia they've got a lot of problems over and above.
Oh yeah,
their oil. I mean, the human rights, all the stuff that's going on there. If you have any sense of humanity, from my perspective, you're rich as fuck already. Like, what are you doing?
Oh yeah, I agree with that, but I will say, and again, if I was in their position with the money that they had, I'd probably be looking for the best football setup, because it's the whole how much is enough, right?
That's what I'm saying.
But these guys have obviously said, this is going to take me from a very wealthy individual to absolute fuck you outrageous. Like,
they already are though.
I know,
but they're
Brian,
rich.
They're going up another 2 to 3 levels of wealth. That they can set up their entire family.
This isn't 2 or 3. This is 7 or 8, 10 levels of wealth, man.
Dude, you're talking about $100 million.
It's just
Conte.
It's money they don't need.
But hold on.
Benzema is like almost $1 billion, man.
You're talking about guys that have made like $5, $7, $10 million a year, and they're being told you're going to make 10 times that in your first year.
Oh, it's crazy.
It's insane. It is stupid money. Let's not belittle this. It is stupid money. Let's not belittle that they are knowingly telling everybody it's not about the competition anymore. It's about the money. And
that's my only point, JP. I just think that these guys already make so much money.
I can't point a gun at these guys. I can't point a finger at these guys because you're not doubling your wages. But you are becoming a millionaire athlete. Now you're becoming one of the richest people in the world.
I know, but why do you need to be that? You have enough money for your family.
This is easy for poor people like us to say, bro.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, bro.
You can argue that, but I don't know that I would be like that.
I'm actually shocked. I'm shocked at Conte, because apparently he's not unless, you know what, dude, this guy's going to take the money and flooding it back into his own country. And we got to kind of wait and
hopefully
see
that would be the case,
what that looks like. But if I saw a guy like Holland, or even like a Harry Kane, or somebody who's still got a good amount of time left, let's say somebody who's at 28,
Jack Grealish.
Perfect. So let's say it was announced tomorrow that Jack's going for 400 mil.
I would lose a bit of respect for Jack.
I'd be like, Jack, man, you're in the prime. And then at that point, you're just like, I don't even give a fuck about football. I'm a full-blown mercenary. But I do see where you're coming from, Brian. But JP is right. That amount of cash is
for guys in their twilight.
Yeah.
I know,
but not have 1 year or 2 at the top.
I understand that it's disturbing. That's the part of it that drives that I think is gross, because they already have a disturbing amount of money. They don't need that much more.
Well, there's a certain point at which you will do anything for that money. And I'm like, this comes down to the game. What would you do for $1 million? This is would you murder for $100 million? And it's like, fuck, dude. There's a lot of people who would murder for less than that.
Brian's right. There's a lot of people who would have no interest to be like, listen, I make more than enough money. I'm set for the rest of my life. But these guys have obviously made this choice because JP is correct. It's not a little bit. It's 10 to 100 times more than you could ever even imagine.
But I also think they're poorly advised. I think that they have people
An
who
agent wants that payout.
agents around them who want that money, so that's a big part of it. All right, so we've talked about this quite a bit. I want to move on to the next topic, and speaking about money, this is a good one to kick off with. And Connie, obviously, I want to get your thoughts on this. I mean, this is
about United again.
Chunk of change, isn't it? $6.5 million final offer from the Sheiks in another Saudi Arabian conglomerate, right? If I'm not mistaken.
JP nailed it. JP nailed it. The Sky Sports came on today. Like, even if you're a United fan or you're a non-United fan, this has been going on for months. Everyone's sick and tired of hearing about this. This all comes down to the Glazers.
And they're not going to make the deal. They're not. I don't think the Glazers are selling.
Comes down to the Glazers. Well, the rumor, and listen, with people with this much money on both sides, you're getting news reports pushed out from both sides, right? So the report is this: $6.5 billion came in from Sheikh Yassim saying you've got until Friday, and that's it. He's walking away. The deal's still on the table, but he doesn't want to talk anymore. He's sick of it. What I'm hearing, and again, you got to take all of this with a grain of salt because people have control of the media pushing this out.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, the Glazers are still slightly more interested in the Ineos deal because they get to keep their shareholders. And from a shareholder per dollar or per shareholder price, apparently it's statistically more, which I find troublesome. But I mean, I don't even know where to go here. Like, sure, if we got the Qataris and they won the bid, we'd have, like, it would be the Saudi thing all over. We'd have the deepest pockets in the world. But then there's the moral implications. Like, how do you sleep at night? It's the whole thing. I'm fed up of it. I want it to be done and over with so we can focus on transfers, know what our budget is. But I don't know. I can't say it's going one way or the other. There's conflicting reports every day, every hour, and people are sick of hearing it. I'm sick of hearing it. I just hope it gets resolved so that it's not getting in the way of preseason and transfers and all of that stuff. The only thing I can really say, guys, is no more than we'll see. Give it. Friday will be interesting. Friday, as in tomorrow. Sorry, tomorrow's Thursday. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the weekend. But if it's not after that, let's wrap this fucking thing.
Question for you, Connie. Like over and above the deal itself, and you talked about sort of preparation for the next season. What does that look like without this deal happening right now? Are you satisfied with the people in the boardroom making the decisions and the coaching, and what might need to happen for your club to sort of crack on? Or does this deal need to take place in order for it to sort of move on to the next steps of Man United getting back to competing with Man City?
Well, this is it. Unfortunately, and JP would tell you this, and he's 100% right. Football at the highest level, especially in the last 3 to 4 years, has become so heavily related to money and what you can spend, who you can buy. A player that used to be $25 million.
That's not new though, Connie. That's not new.
55.
Well, yeah, but the amount of money
is risen, but there's
I'm going to say the growth of inflation of a player's value is
inflation
insane.
is a fact, but the money has always been the reason why most clubs.
In fairness to the Glazers, they have invested. Like, people talk about Man City, they talk about Chelsea. Manchester United have spent a lot of money in the last 5-6 years.
100%.
I think the Glazers are out of money, so they're looking to cash in because they know long-term. It's a good question. They know long-term the investment it would take to stay relevant and stay at the top. They don't have it anymore. So I think the idea
or they don't necessarily have the energy to participate in that.
I think they want to cash out, right? They want to say, okay.
Well, that's what I mean. They're like, we don't want to keep doing this. We want to give it to somebody else.
Can I jump in for a quick second?
Give me one second, JP. My concern with Ineos is that they won't back us financially, and I don't know that. The Qataris would, but you want to be in bed with the Qataris. That's just kind of where I'm at. I don't know the implications. I just don't know. I know budget-wise, if something doesn't change, we don't have a huge budget and we have to sell. JP, go ahead.
I don't think the Glazers are going to change, not because they don't have the money. You're talking about one of the richest families to own the largest club in the world. They'd rather continually just siphon a little bit off the top.
Yeah.
They're just going to take $100 million every 2 years, and they can just slowly collect on this while the club sits there. The asset of the valuation of the asset, which is the club, will deter over time. But if they can keep relative moderate success, which they have done, and they haven't put massive amounts of money into the club infrastructure, then they can keep siphoning off money, and that's just going to grow. And it doesn't matter.
Here's the issue. And I'm no economics or finance major, but I can tell you one thing. So let's say they siphon out $500 million over the next. So let's say somebody gave you an offer of $80 million spread across 4 years, or $70 million today. Everybody in finance.
Hold on,
these guys,
they might have
hold
already
on. That's
siphoned
what
$2 billion since
they
they've
have.
owned the club.
They
So
have.
who's to say
But
they're
that-
never going to hit $6.5 billion?
Here's something that needs to be noted. That $6.5 billion amount is in a lump sum payment that happens immediately. What do people with a lot of money who want to continue to make a lot of money? They want cash in hand. They don't want to grow it. They want to take that money.
They do not.
Do.
No,
Dude.
no, they take their money and they put it into assets. Every single big
Of
money
course.
player have assets, and this is the Glazers' golden goose.
Dude, $6.5 billion is bananas.
It
If they have
lays the
that-
golden egg
they-
every
if-
season for them, and they're just going to just
No.
sit there.
Yeah,
This is what I'm
but JP,
saying.
you
Waiting
can't
for it to
argue.
get over
You
with.
can't argue that.
I'm
like,
not saying it's not a crazy, stupid number.
An influx. Hear me out, though. You said that they'd rather make it over a period of time, which I'm not arguing that they wouldn't like to do that as well. But to be given a $6.5 billion investment into your club in one chunk of change is much better across
Bonkers.
the board than waiting for it.
100%. Then
Oh,
what
I
they do
get
after
that.
that, JP, you know what they're going to do? They're going to go and buy another 2 or 3 franchises, because then they got the capital.
They flip
These
it.
deals
After
don't
2
come
years,
around
they have the
unless you're
capital to
dealing-
buy anything like that, anyways.
unless you're dealing with Saudis or Qataris. These cash deals don't happen. I will be surprised if they don't end up going with the Qataris, but fuck, man, I'm just like everyone else, guys.
Here's
sick
the
of
thing
hearing
I
about it.
want to see as a neutral who just kind of wants us over. I would rather the EPL finally put their foot down and say, you know what? No more state run, period. We get that Man City's there, and we get that, Newcastle's there, but we're not doing it anymore. We're not doing it anymore. No more. We'll go with Sir Jim Radcliffe and be done with it. Just say, you know what, from
JP,
now on,
why are the
no
EPL
more.
going to say no to money? You think they're there for the spirit of it?
Because you know what? I actually
just like the
do
Glazers.
think I actually do think
No,
their
you-
image is getting so beat up right
it's
now.
not. It's the biggest league. Brian, you know what I'm saying? Any
Yeah, I
big
agree.
conglomerate, they just don't say no to JP. It's terrible. It's kind of like
I
Brian
get
saying,
that
why
there's
are
money.
these guys going to the Saudi league? Dude, people in large positions and people in charge of companies, they have one goal: profit. It's unfortunate, but it's how the world. It's how capitalism. It's how the world works.
UEFA is starting to push the idea of a wage cap and a transfer cap.
Yeah.
And you know what?
I'd love to see it.
There's
would
a
I.
huge play that says, you know what? Money is what rules the EPL, and that's all that's going to
The
happen.
world. The rules of the world.
But what we're trying to see here is many leagues, including many top CEOs of EPL clubs, are saying, you know what? We don't want a Bundesliga. We don't want a La Liga.
Yeah.
We don't
I agree.
want whatever the team where it's one team that dominates. And if you get another Qatari owner, you're going to be looking at a Man City, Man United, Newcastle domination of this league for the next
Can I just
3
quickly,
decades.
can I
What's the
quickly
point?
point out the irony of this conversation? We've had that same league, that same type of league in the Premier League since it started. The Premier League is the Super League. If you look at the clubs at the top of the Premier League who have won the Premier League since it existed, there's 5 teams you could point out that have won it. They're the richest teams in the league.
6.
They're the ones with the most money. Now, to be fair to that, in that 6. To be fair to that,
Tell me the
Anomaly
one
with
that you
Leicester.
do. Tell me
An
the one
anomaly
that.
with
let me
Leicester.
finish the point. To be fair to that conversation, that in especially when it comes to Man U, previous to this scenario, they had arguably done it the right way, with making money in a way that was club based, selling shirts, selling tickets at the door, a lot of other things that made the money. Getting an investment from a Qatari or Saudi led state group is the thing that is different than what we've seen previously. That's the thing that has to change. I mean, don't get me wrong. I still would like to see a salary cap at some point, because I do think that's equals everything up and it makes it more interesting to watch. But we've had money in football forever, and it's always been the teams with money who've won. That's not something that's different. So you just
100%.
teams who end up with more money because of investment. Man City got investment because they're state owned. Newcastle, same sort of thing. But it's the
Chelsea with Roman. Roman threw a fuckload of money.
Yeah,
Can I ask you guys a
Roman was the
question?
OG, right?
Russian oligarch comes in and he's super dodgy, and he's like, that's what I'm talking about.
He's the OG.
The reason that's different is because there's a moral response, or needs to be a moral response to what it is we're accepting then in football. What type of
I don't
money
know
we're
where
accepting.
Roman got his money from, but
Well, that's why I said he was the beginning of it.
Yeah, because I
And
struggled
it's
with this,
escalated.
right?
It's gotten worse and worse since then. So
Would you guys be like me a little bit? Like, let's say like these Qataris wanted to buy Spurs or they wanted to buy Villa, right? Like, forget that it's United. Let's say that was heavily reported. Are you like me at all where like part of you is like, holy fuck, we'll get so much money, we can buy it. Like, I'm kind of like the devil and the angel. And then the flip side, I'm like, man, we don't want to be in bed with these people. They're not good people, human rights, this, that, and like I do flip flop back and
100%,
forth,
dude.
but I will say the devil on me is like,
100%.
holy shit, we can get anyone in it. It's so hard, right? And it's like,
Yeah, I mean,
man, like
you mentioned this group, like this Qatari group. They looked at Spurs as well, and there was sort of that
yeah,
conversation came up, and I was kind of going, oh, like we complain about the ownership at Spurs, and there's for good reason. They have their own issues. These are billionaires. Billionaires make their money in weird ways, and they do things that aren't necessarily things that we would accept morally or want to see from
ethically.
ownerships from ownerships of the club that we support. But that's been going on for a long, long time. There's something different here, I think, with this types of ownership. When that Qatari thing came in, and it was like, oh, thinking about maybe if the United thing doesn't work out, they're going to consider Spurs as an option. And I, like the same as you just said, my heart sinks because I'm like, I don't want to be supporting a club that is run by this. But then I'm also like, well, I'm already supporting a club that's run by this. Like, what's the difference between these types of billionaires and the shit they've
Hard,
done to
man,
get there?
because you picture like buying anyone and everyone.
It's dirty
Spurs winning
money
the
from
league.
dirty people with greed that only care about making money off of the club that you love. So it's a really hard one to sort of cipher, like where do you want to go and how do you want to manage it. I would just probably, if it continues as it's going, like football less, or at least European football less. European football less. I would get into other football in other places because I love the game, but I think the Premier League would become slightly distasteful if it continues like this and you have 5 or 6 teams owned by Saudi Arabians.
JP's right though. It kind of is like, let's say the Qataris win the United bid. You'll have City, Newcastle, and United, and it's going to turn to shit.
It kind of sucks.
It's terrible.
It's not a competition anymore.
No.
What happened to the EPL being the greatest sporting competition in the world?
Yeah.
And
it's going down the wayside.
You know what? Villa don't win titles. We don't, right? Spurs don't win titles. But it'd be nice if at the beginning of the season there was a chance.
Of course.
Just one little bit of a chance. But the problem is it would take more chances away from Man City, Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea, the big 5, 6, right? And it just seems like more and more the game is being rigged so that teams like Villa, teams like West Ham, teams like who did win a title today, only in Europe, can't
Crystal Palace, Everton,
get domestic titles. Yeah,
I agree.
So
this isn't a competition anymore? You can even, like, I don't know, you guys might laugh at this, but you can even put Spurs in that conversation, despite like being well run with a big stadium and all the other bells and whistles. The investment is not as simple as being owned by this type of conglomerate. Like Spurs have had to do things a certain way, with the stadium, Beyonce show, like 5 Beyonce concerts to make money to reinvest in the squad. Like I think it's the right way to do it, but they're being forced to do these types of things, which I think a lot of other clubs should probably try to do, but it still isn't enough. You still can't compete with the City and potentially the Uniteds of the world with the type of ownership and money that these guys are going to have.
Maybe the MLS really is the best competition.
It's got a great, minus the DP bit, because I do think that kind of takes the.
I hate playoffs personally. I don't like playoffs at all.
Same.
But if you look at who has won the league over the last 20 years. I think Galaxy has done it 1 time, 3 times in a row, and that's it. It goes all over the place.
Yeah, Seattle's been there on a few occasions.
Seattle's done it.
But the reason why is because they're well run, not because they're rich.
Yes,
and it's good recruitment, and it's good cycling of
right. The DP thing though. The DP thing is to protect the league, though, because
I know it's good now. The reason I don't here's my thing. I don't dislike the DP thing currently. I think that if they rely on it for a long enough period, or for too long, then it just becomes kind of hokey rather than the quality of the players and the quality of the league and everybody being able to make enough money without having the best players come in. It's the best league because players want to play there. I think there's just more in that than there is in having a DP or DPs that you sort of rely on to bring people in.
What do you want to make a
coaches
bet?
or other players or whatever else,
What do you want to make a bet with Messi being if he actually goes into Miami? I bet you that DP rule changes very quickly.
I could see
he's
it.
like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, man, he'll have more influence on that league than people think. He'll be like, listen, I need to bring in 4 or 5 guys. Fuck your DP rule.
Here, I'm gonna do
Yeah,
a
I
quick
can
little
see that.
thing
I can
before
see
we
that.
move on because I feel like we're on a really
And
good
Blackburn
conversation.
Rovers is the team that you were thinking about, JP.
Blackburn Rovers.
Blackburn,
But
yeah.
here's the last 10 MLS champions, right? This is to show real competition. LAFC was last year, and I'm going from recent backwards. LAFC, New York FC, Columbus Crew, Seattle Sounders, Atlanta United, Toronto FC, Seattle Sounders, Portland Timbers, LA Galaxy, Sporting Kansas City. Only
love that.
Seattle Sounders have won it twice in the last 10 years, and
Yep.
that's it.
They
That's
are run well.
amazing.
And
It's
Seattle been in the final more than any other team in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
They lost to TFC when TFC won.
Yeah, LA Galaxy's won it 4 or 5 times. Freaking Seattle's been there a bunch. Houston Dynamo has a bunch. San Jose has 2 and 3 years.
I think
really
it would be really great to see a combination of European relegation promotion
100%
built into MLS and USL and having the two things like function the way they do with salary caps. That's like the perfect football league.
Yep.
Because you get competition across the board. And if you do get relegated, it's not because you don't have money; it's because you were shit at managing your team. And if you do win, it's because you've done really well with recruitment and you manage your team really well. It's like the best combination of the two things that would work really well. I would love
at
to see
30
that.
teams now. You add another 8 to 10, and then you make it 2-tiered.
Yep.
And what you do is TV money is split equally throughout the 2 leagues.
Yeah. So that
everybody gets it. Doesn't matter if you win first place or you're in last place. You share the TV revenue, and then you have a salary cap that's different for the top league to the bottom league. So that when you go up, you can beef up your squad.
Yep.
And then
MLS, are you listening? MLS,
come on, boys, get on it.
All right. Well,
there's nothing, dude.
let's
You
move
guys,
on.
JT, you guys love your football and your baseball too much to get on board.
I hate playoffs so much.
Well, that was a
I
good chat.
know, but everyone in the state. Yeah, that was a good chat.
Really
what
good
else
chat.
we got?
So next
some
one,
forest burning dude is on our chat. He needs to calm down, okay, Canada?
Okay, so we're gonna move on to we could talk a little bit about the result today. So West Ham win the hokey, non-existent, real fucking whatever trophy.
All right, let's pause right there and let's just actually dispute this real quick. If you're in the comments,
it's a joke.
Tell me, is it a worthy title?
It's not a title. You won best of the mid-table in Europe. Woo-hoo.
David,
it's a trophy. It's a trophy.
It's a trophy.
It's
a
a
mid-season trophy,
though. Come on.
Hey, that's a loser mentality,
It's
sir.
not.
Loser mentality. If you're too good for something, loser mentality.
It's the other way around. It's a loser mentality.
They went undefeated in it, dude.
Listen to me. It's a loser mentality to think that it's a good trophy. They just made it up 2 seasons ago. They made it up.
2 different things,
nowhere,
Brian.
and they're like, "Hey, let's take a bunch of mid-table teams and a bunch of divisions and turn it into another tournament that we can make some money off of and glamour."
Sure.
No
one's saying it's a coveted trophy.
I'm not saying it's the Champions League.
But
I never said it's the Champions League. I never even
created
it, which is actually a relevant tournament.
But is it a trophy that's worthy of some recognition that they won?
Well, let's say this.
No.
Let's say this, Brian.
What
if you guys won it next year? If Spurs won it, how would you feel about it? Answer
Embarrassed.
honestly.
Embarrassed.
Seriously?
I was embarrassed to be in it.
It might be the only thing to keep Kane there.
No, hear me out, Connie. I was. I'm not.
I remember you saying
we
that.
were in the tournament, and I was like, "Fuck, like I don't want to be in this tournament. It's embarrassing." And of course, this is why I think the loser mentality, JP, you're talking about, is kind of funny because it's actually like teams that like are trying to strive for more who get into that tournament, or like West Ham who just won it, are like, "Hey, we're better than we were before." I get that, but that's a loser mentality. That's a team that accepts that as the best they can do. Whereas I think Spurs, who had been in the Champions League, been in Europe for the last 15 years running, and been in the Champions League for about 6 of those 15 years, is it's for them to be in that position and playing a B team and not really giving a fuck about it. It's embarrassing. I didn't want to do that. If they went on to say, we're going to go take this tournament seriously, we're going to try to win it, maybe I would take it a bit seriously, but it was just hokey. It's just something they added
So
for more money.
Whole
For more money
perspective
for
based on
UEFA.
how Tottenham viewed it or how you view
Both.
it?
It's both. It's both. One was affected by
I like
the other.
Liam's point here.
One was affected by the other.
I like Liam's point. I think it's worthy of a put up there.
Okay, well, let's put it up. It's trophy, ticket to Europa League. That's an easier way to Europa League than league position in the Prem. Sure. So what? It's still a shit tournament. Earn your way into the Europa League by finishing 6th or 7th. Like be better.
I mean, they earn their way to be in that league by being
a hokey
7th.
way to get in there. It's such a
Hold on. Did they literally earn their way to be in a competition, like you said, by finishing 7th?
But it's a competition. JP, it's a competition that they made up. It's
all the competitions are made up.
No,
right?
I know, they made it up out of nowhere to make money. They didn't
like when did Europa start? Only 10 years ago.
Europa League's been around since the Spurs won the Europa League in the 70s. Like that has been the Europa League is older than the Champions League. It's the oldest European tournament. So it has history. This is a tournament that was made for UEFA to make more money. That's what it's for.
I think that about the Conference League, it can also kind of fuck you too. Like, look what happened to West Ham in the league this year. And like, you're like, okay, listen, man, we're trying to maybe get it in the Europa League, or we're trying to get up. We got to play is it Thursday or Wednesday, bro? They play Thursday, right? The Conference League games?
It's Thursday,
Thursday.
Yeah, and I'm sorry.
It's
like the Europa League. Like, it totally throws off.
It's hard. It's genuinely harder than potentially being in the Champions League because of the shitty schedule you get.
Sure, genuinely harder schedule-wise,
Same with the Europa
but not
League.
when it comes to the quality of the teams you're playing.
Florida
The level is embarrassing. Spurs. People
when
make
you
fun
get to
of
the
Spurs
final 8 of that tournament. You're going to
people make fun of Spurs because we did when we went there. We went there with Jose Mourinho, and we went there with Conte in the first half of the season. They played like 11 players that hadn't played starting like at all the entire season.
I love that.
Through the tournament, essentially didn't give a shit about it.
I kind of like that.
And but that's the right thing to do because it was bullshit compared to what matters in the league, because you're giving so much.
So look at those two managers.
You don't finish in the top four.
How quickly would they have wanted to be out of that tournament and have zero association?
100%.
For sure.
Which I get.
They think it's below them, right?
But
it's not about being below them. It's about what you should care about. It isn't.
You just said what they should care about. They don't care. They think it's below.
You're both. Neither of you are wrong. Neither of you are wrong here. But like, can we also say, like, if you were a West Ham fan today, you're like, fuck, we won a trophy. We could be happy about that. Like, if somebody wants to celebrate winning the Conference League, like let's say Southampton or whoever, or Brentford win it next year, like a team who quite often might not always have a chance to win a trophy, you gotta say it's not bad. We know it's lower mid-table, but it's something, right? But like if you're Chelsea winning that, or even Spurs, or even Liverpool living that, I can understand that.
I just want to point something out quickly.
It's embarrassing, right?
If Spurs won this tournament, right? Like,
it's like it shows how low you are. It shows how low down you are.
If Spurs won this tournament, it would have been considered the most Spursy trophy ever won.
Well, yeah, that's just you guys.
No, but that's fact, right? Like, you guys would have made fun of Spurs for winning it because you're like, oh, Champions League, Europa League. No, go and you win the Conference League. Nicely done, Spurs. Well done, Spurs.
I mean, this is the most
you.
But that's the perception of it, right? And that's reality.
Culturally, I think with Spurs, you gotta any type of trophy right now for Spurs has got to be looked at as a positive. And I don't mean that like as a slag or as a dig, right? But that's a way to maybe galvanize a group or get a group going and be like, well, fuck, we won something. Like, let's keep trying to get better. I don't know.
Connie, if you do that with your first team because you care and the first team goes and does it, and it's like, look, we're going to do this for this reason, and you make it like a club decision out of it.
Yeah.
I get that. I'm not going to discount it in that scenario because you're like, you need to win something. That's not how Spurs have approached it. That's not how teams who had finished or regularly top four for the last 10 years or so would approach it. It's not how United would approach it if they ended up there for whatever weird reason. You would throw at like your shittiest team
without
not
question.
care about it because it would get in the way of where you should be in the league. And
I think Villa would do that this upcoming season if they were in there. Like, are you guys in there? Are you guys in Europa? Or,
we're in Conference League. We made Conference League.
If I were you guys, I would throw it as well. I just put in your.
No, I think Villa is going to go for it because our manager actually like he wins European competitions. Like he won Europa like 3 or 4 times now. I think he's going to go for it. But here's my take on it. Like before the season even starts, we have a 5% chance to win the FA Cup. Maybe if that. Maybe 3%.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Right? Lower.
It's going
we
up.
have a 3% chance to win the League Cup. We have a 0.005% chance to win the EPL title. So why the fuck should we not try and win something?
Not anymore. Not with the way you finished the league, and we'll talk about that on another show.
Anyway, let's bring it back a little bit here because the point of that start of that conversation was to talk about West Ham. Declan Rice, who was the captain of West Ham, and club captain, they want to. However you look at the Conference League, and we can argue about Declan Rice to Arsenal is a conversation that's happening. He came out in the media after the win today and suggested, I'm club captain. I've got 2 more years on my contract. I don't. It's seemingly saying like I don't see myself going anywhere else. Having said that.
I thought it was just a neutral comment of like, "Hey, I'm still here. Whatever happens."
Yeah, he's club captain. He's not.
He's being smart. He was being media smart.
So
it's a respectful thing to say.
Yes.
Of course. Couple of questions to ask here, though. Okay. How much does this improve Arsenal if he does go to Arsenal? And is Declan Rice that good that he should be getting being purchased by a top 4 team like Arsenal? Because there was a bit of the chat in the WhatsApp today that I think Declan Rice is overrated. I think he's a good player. I think he's good in West Ham and what he does. I don't think he's a top 4 midfielder, defensive midfielder. But that's my opinion. You guys,
JP, you go first.
You're gonna have your own. JP,
I'm gonna go into it.
Go ahead.
I think he is mildly performing for a mid-table side. I think better coaching, better players around him, he could perform better. Maybe he performs the same. You don't know. But I think he is a better player than Granit Xhaka is. And Granit Xhaka, I think, actually had a pretty good year this year.
Is he replacing Xhaka or is he replacing...
Yes, he is replacing Xhaka.
Because Xhaka said he's not even going anywhere.
No, he's out.
Right, Xhaka's gone.
I think he's already gone.
I'll get into this.
I might have missed that. Sorry.
Because Brian's right. He's not replacing Xhaka. He's a like for Thomas Partey. But you
That's
keep
what
going.
I was
We'll
thinking.
get to that.
It's a Partey replacement.
I don't see him as a Partey replacement. I think he's going there to be the Granit Xhaka. Because I just think he has something a little different than Partey has. I don't think he's where the valuation is, but I think he helps improve Arsenal's midfield. And I think with Arteta,
I think he gives the players around him. I think he gives them midfield depth, certainly, and I think that they need that.
I mean, if
Partey gets injured,
he's be a starter.
If Partey gets injured, Declan Rice is in.
I think Declan Rice is starting with Partey.
Okay.
Or vice versa.
Here we go. I'm going in this. I have a lot of thoughts about this.
Go.
A couple of things with Declan Rice. Declan Rice, his whole life, lifelong Chelsea fan, all he's ever wanted to go to Chelsea. It's off the cards. He's going to Arsenal. Is Brian right? Is he overrated? He's absolutely overrated. Is he an 80 million pound player? Absolutely not. You know what team he actually slots in perfectly to? Arsenal. Because he is going to play instead of Granit Xhaka, and he's going to play beside Thomas Partey, and he is going to dramatically improve that team.
Yes.
Is he N'Golo Kanté? Is he prime Dembele from Spurs? Absolutely not. How
does he improve Arsenal in the way they play currently?
Because he is going to be replayed like outside of. If check out the stats when Partey was healthy and he was playing for Arsenal, that's when they won all their games.
Oh, and I know that.
You're
talking about him playing beside Partey, not instead.
I do, and I think Declan Rice sometimes when the setup is right likes to get forward a little bit.
He's an 8 who can play as a 6.
The system changes. It doesn't change. He changes.
I have them both playing
because he is a 6, not an 8, right?
He can do both. Like let's be fair. These guys are specialized players, but that doesn't mean they can't transition. And he covers. The one thing I did notice in the game is this guy has legs. He covers ground.
He does
like a fucking gazelle. It's like 4 steps and he's 40 yards down the field. It's incredible how fast.
You know what the problem is? You know what the problem is? He's clunky on the ball.
I was just going to say
a little bit.
He's not a Rolls Royce, man. He is big and physical. but
He's Hulk.
let's say he wanted to sign for United tomorrow. I'm a no on him, Brian. I don't know where you guys are at. With
He's
Spurs.
Scott McTominay. He's Scott
Are you
McTominay.
kidding me?
He's a bigger, better Scott
He
McTominay.
starts for you.
He's a Scott
He
McTominay.
probably does right now, but again, if he's the he's
a
the
way
mo-
better Scott
he's
McTominay.
he is. He's not the profile of player. Like, I don't think he gets a sniff at Man City. I don't even know if he'd get a sniff at Liverpool. I do
He
think
doesn't
with the
get-
current
no.
squad in the midfield with Arsenal and more of the defensive midfield, right? Because you look at like the Odegaards, the Emil Smith Rowe, like they're very heavy in attack. Partey's really only their defensive midfielder, along with Xhaka. Xhaka did have a good season,
Thank you, Liam.
but this is a perfect kind of Xhaka upgrade replacement. I think it's going to happen, guys. I think you're going to see 80 million, which is a huge overpay.
Guess who met him last weekend?
You.
No.
I don't
Guess
know.
who met Declan Rice last weekend in London?
Who?
Tuchel.
Tuchel
Flew out and got the okay from West Ham. They
I
met.
can see it.
They
He's not leaving
talked
England.
because Bayern Munich really wanted him. Apparently, he would become Bayern Munich's highest
He'd be
ever
great.
signing. He would be great for them. He'd win a lot of titles, but I don't think he wants to go there because that isn't just one step down. That's like 2 or 3 steps down when it comes to the league.
I'm just saying this, and I think Bry's with me on this. He couldn't lace Rodri or Casemiro's boots.
Not
He
even
couldn't
close.
even get near that
Not even
echelon.
close.
You're talking
Is-
2 of the best in the league. I don't think
Well,
he's 2 of the best in the
he-
league.
well, when
He's
people
not a
talk
top
about
5. He's a
Declan
5 through
Rice-
10.
JP for 80 million, he should be the best in the league.
Exactly,
Come on.
man.
All right, let's go
And-
after Anthony with that idea then.
Well, I
Sure.
thought Anthony,
I don't have a problem with that.
Anthony's a 19-year-old kid, and again,
I
I think he had an okay season, but everyone knew he wasn't a 80, 100 million. Well, for sure. There's the hopes that he'll grow into that. What's Declan Rice, 26, 27? Supposed to be the finished article, are you not?
Different comparison. for sure.
Yeah. Let's not talk about Anthony. He's in the news for the wrong reason.
By the way,
this week.
Anthony's 23, so
Is he? I thought he's younger
yeah,
than that.
dude, he's
No,
23.
he's not. He's not a kid, but he's also young
No.
enough that that's.
Yeah.
He's too
Anyway,
ugly to be that young.
Everybody, we all admit to it was a massive overpay on him. It's now like if he
Massive.
can develop and get better and better. But all I'm saying is this: I think it's a good signing. I think the price is too high, and I think
Yep.
when people talk about elite defensive midfielders, he's not in that upper echelon for me.
No.
Listen, still a good footballer. I just don't think he's at the top of the top.
I
and
don't
that's
think
not
he
necessarily-
This
changes
There's not
move
many that
could
are.
make him there.
I don't think he changes Arsenal
Because-
enough for 80 million. I don't think it's going to be
Yeah.
that much of a difference.
But Brian, you could admit that he does improve them dramatically.
I don't think so.
They
I
need
think
that
that-
role.
I
When
think so.
when Partey's out, they lose.
If
They
it-
don't
okay,
have that
if-
coverage.
If we're talking about depth in that Partey position, I would agree. Yes, he improves them greatly because they don't have any depth in that position. If that's what he's being brought in for, you spoke about him playing beside Thomas Partey.
I think he will.
That's
think he
different
will.
because that changes Arsenal's system. They don't play. They play with 1-8, and you know, they change their system. Are they going to start playing differently?
He'll go into the Jacques role, and I think
Right,
he'll
and
get a
so-
little
and
bit
so
more
if he goes into
freedom
the
going
Jacques role-
forward and going back.
You're putting him into a position that he's not necessarily used to playing. So you're playing him slightly out of position and expecting him to do a job that Granit Xhaka did. Arguably had his best season last year
He did.
with
Best
Arsenal.
ever.
100%.
How much is he going to be better than Xhaka was last season
I
at
think
playing
he's-
out of position? I don't think it's that much of an upgrade. It's
He's
a slight upgrade.
significantly better
I think
player
it
than
is
It's
an
a slight,
upgrade.
Xhaka.
it's a slight
It is.
upgrade, but it's not. It's not like Arsenal now win the league because of it.
Can we all agree when they're both healthy, Thomas Partey is a better player than Declan Rice?
100%.
Like
Uh,
easily.
In
Not
the
even-
6,
Not even close.
in the 6, yes. I
JP,
think
watch him.
you guys are kind of square peg round hole. I see Declan Rice as not just a 6. I see
He
him
is
like
a
a
6.
6.
He plays in
He
front of the
plays.
defensive line.
He
From-
can play as a 6. I think he can
West Ham
also
and
play as an
England.
8. He can
I
also
haven't really
play as
seen
an
him
8.
play much of an 8
No,
role, maybe a little
no,
bit with England,
no.
but I don't think that
Yeah,
that's
when he was with Calvin Phillips was the 6 in England, and he was the 8.
No, Calvin was the 8. What are you
No.
talking about? Calvin did all the running, man, in the midfield.
Have you
Yeah.
seen Calvin run more than one game in a row? Doesn't
Yeah.
happen,
At
man.
Leeds, that's all he did was run. What are you talking about?
Dude, Brian nailed it off the top. If he goes there and they start him, and you have to start him for 80 million, and they're not starting Partey, the system will change. And will
Yeah.
it change for the? Will they be more?
It makes them
of a
less
defensive-
attacking, and I don't think that suits
Well, I'll
what
say this.
Arteta
I
wants to do.
don't agree.
One piece of positivity I'll say about I think he's
More
clunky,
defensive.
but he does progress the ball quick and fast. That's what he was really great at with England, with Phillips, right? He always progressed the ball to the attackers at a fairly decent pace. So I'm really curious, but boys, I think this one's going to happen. I think where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah, I think
probably, and I think I'll finish from my perspective. I don't think it changes Arsenal that much, especially for the price. I think they could probably bring in somebody more dynamic anywhere else in Europe that would give them something different than what they're getting from Declan Rice. That's my opinion on it. Let's talk about dynamic, and let's talk about this motherfucker right here. Postecoglou.
All right, I'm gonna do something different, Brian. I'm gonna take over, and I'm gonna ask you questions.
Yeah, go for it, man. I'm ready to go. I have researched the shit out of this guy. So
First off,
I already know.
What option is he? Is he Spurs option number 4, 5, 6?
So no, none of those things.
He's not number 1.
No, he wasn't number one.
Is.
I'm going to explain to you how this worked in my understanding, and I listened to Matt Law speak about it today. Matt Law is a respected journalist who covers Spurs and Chelsea, not a Spurs fan, but he explained exactly what the approach was from Tottenham and how they were looking for a manager. They had a list. He was on it, but not at the top of it. It was the first person they asked, but he was always on the list and was always somebody they were going to talk to. Nagelsmann was on the list. Obviously, and there's obviously the few others.
Luis Enrique, I believe.
Luis Enrique was one of the first they went to.
Tuchel, right? Yeah.
No, Tuchel wasn't on the list. So the point is, Postecoglou was on the list, but wasn't the first one necessarily. We want him right away. They were going to do some due diligence. Finally, which myself,
which they needed to,
100%. They had to get it right. They have to get it right this time because they've gotten it wrong quite a few times. The last 3 appointments haven't worked out, and it's been a mess. So, was he first on the list? No, but was he on the list, and was he respected on the list? Yes.
100%. He was on the list.
My understanding is after they did their due diligence, they were with the people, not only speaking with him, but the people around him and players that have managed. Apparently, his stock skyrocketed real quick throughout the process.
He's never had a single player, manager, colleague say anything negative about him
at all. I know. I think you might be on to having a little gem with this guy. But again, and we'll I don't want to get into it too much, but it's like
that's what we're here for, David.
You guys got to go into the market this year, and it's kind of the same old song that we sing here. It's playing on the record over and over. Like this guy needs to. I'm on record, and I still believe this. I do think there's a better squad there than people realize. It's hard when somebody drops a nuclear bomb and then walks away, which is what Conte did. I do think there's a better squad than people think. So players can be galvanized, and I think he can get more out of them. But at the same time,
I think
they're going to give this guy some fucking money to get maybe.
Well, it's not even. Okay. So let's get into this a little bit about squad, and I agree with you about the squad. There's some great players in the squad. The problem with the squad is that it's a bunch of players who've been very defensive, taught to do very specific ways of playing by 3 different managers, obviously, including Nuno and that. It was only a few months, but all of them defensive, all of them counterattacking, all of them the 3 at the back. Our squad is built for that 3 at the back. It isn't a squad that is going. I don't know if you've done any reading on how Postecoglou plays, but he's very front foot, like aggressive in front.
He's attacking
more so than Pochettino was at Spurs, and more so than Guardiola is at City. Even like he's aggressive, forward thinking, and so there's a bunch of players in the squad that aren't going to suit that. So he's going to have to. And this has been discussed amongst the squad and amongst the leadership at Spurs that there will be a massive clear out. We'll see probably 10 to 15 players leave the squad in whatever capacity, whether it's out on loan again or sold or their contracts being just canceled completely. So you will see a massive overhaul of the squad. He did this at Celtic. When he started at Celtic as a manager there, 26 new players since he started until he won the trophy.
I know. Here's the issue with that in the Premier League, though.
He will cycle this squad 100%.
There's a massive issue with that in the Premier League, right? Because we saw it at Leeds with, I forget his name now, Bielsa, and it worked for a season. The problem is this. If you want to play, and Eric Ten Hag's trying to do it in United, and I think he's shocked at what degree of difficulty it's been for him in the first season. He does. He wants to play front forward press with a lot of movement in midfield. if you're going to replace that many players and bring people in, there is a minimal room for error because it can go really wrong. Because I think Erik ten Hag tried to do it from the get-go. I think what he realized halfway through, and I feel like I don't want to make this United thing. It's the only comparison, is that maybe you do it slowly and find the right players and slowly build towards that and get there in a season.
Well, he did do it slowly at Celtic, and he ended up winning. He won the league anyways because it's Scotland.
It's a 2-horse race.
Yeah. So,
100%.
but he was able to take a Celtic team who's finished 26 points below their rival to winning the league the next season. But the first 3 or 4 months they were terrible and their results were really bad, and eventually they've slowly bought in. And I think that's going to be the key with Spurs getting used to what he's asking them to do. But it's the type of football fans want. We just have to be patient. Whether Spurs fans will have it or not, we'll see. But what he did at Celtic it was easy to see what he was trying to do. And most of the fans bought into it right away and said, we see what you're trying to do. We're going to support you. And they backed him, and he did what he's done at every other club he's been at. He's won wherever he's gone. And I know that it's Japan, I know that it's Australia, and I know that people are going to be like, they're going to slag it because it's not
winning is winning. Winning is winning, man.
Football is football. You can take a group of players in a league and get them to play a certain way and win things because you're playing against a competition that's equal to the competition you have in your squad. He's going to have that same comparison. He's going to play a certain type of football with the squad he has that are at a higher level, so we'll compete at the higher level with the teams at a higher level. I don't think it changes that much from league to league. I think it's a philosophy that will work if the team buys into it, and if the fans buy into it, and the club buys into it. And
will he bring guys in? Will he?
Oh yeah, 100%. There'll be players coming in.
Is this, and I mean it very seriously. And
he's got to rethink if Kane stays. Which is still up in the air. He has to rethink Kane's role because Kane cannot be the 9 in the system. The system that he has, the 9 doesn't see a lot of the ball. 20% of the ball that they're used to seeing that a 9 sees in his system. But when they do see it, they score. Like the Japanese player he brought in from the Japanese league scored 35 goals in this season. In with like the amount of touches he had was like
he was dominant,
minimal. Yeah. But he scored every time he got it because the build.
But you need width. You need Sonny to have a comeback season. You need a lot of
not just
things.
Width though. It's full. So he doesn't play wing backs. He plays inverted fullbacks, and the fullbacks come in and play the midfield when they push into the final third. So you take like your right wing backs that normally play wide, and they cut inside, and they play in the midfield as the midfield. It almost ends up in the final third as a 2-3-5, and like and then
floppy.
And he presses.
Kind of Kloppy. Yeah, Klopp does it.
It's very heavy, and it's like you're not going to get past this now that we're in your final third. Whatever you try to do, and he's just
attractive football. It's attractive football. He plays
watch, and it's going to be utility.
You need legs, and you need runners in this.
Exactly, and there's a bunch of players in our team that aren't that. Bunch of players in our team that aren't that.
One team in the Premier League who plays that way right now. One team. It's called Manchester City, and they do it exceptionally well.
And on that note, Connie,
I have to ask.
Pep Guardiola said about Postecoglou is he said I play because they were a City team, the Japanese team that he managed, were a City group team.
Right.
He played against him in a preseason, and he said this guy is playing some of the best football I've seen from any manager in any league. So it'll be interesting
for
to see
you guys.
Yeah,
I wish I could tell what Ben's logo is.
I got to ask you, there's a lot of rumors about Harry Maguire going to Spurs in the right system. I know everyone slags Harry, but in the right system, he's a decent defender. Do you want nothing to do with it? It's starting to heat up a little bit.
He's a decent defender with 3 at the back. He's not going to be a decent defender in a 4-3-3 that's heavy pressing that needs legs. He's useless in that scenario.
It just came up. Hey, Fabrizio Romano, it's coming on my screen right now. Considering a move for Inter Miami, considering a move for Angel Di Maria. It's starting already. I mean, those rumors are heating up, but I do hope that this guy gets full control for you guys on transfers because I know it's been been the case in the past. But
so JP, you say he won't, and it's fine that you say that.
Let's just look at the past. But you just had 2
Can I finish my
winning
statement
managers
before you interrupt me?
No, well, let him say it.
No,
you guys have been talking for 5 minutes. Let me.
I know, but like you made a statement that's false.
I made one word.
I'd like to refute it, and then you can say what you want to say. 100%, there will be a director of football still brought in that will help him bring in players that Levy won't have control over. So there will be a difference in how it functions.
But
At least
Levy will control the budget, though, right?
That's it.
He always
That's
controls
it.
the budget. He's the chairman of the fucking football.
Which is
You guys
understandable.
are doomed to have trouble when it comes to transfers, when it comes to anything major squad development, because you have Daniel Levy, and you know this. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
not going to argue that.
I feel
Yeah,
like
but you're misconstruing it, JP. You're misconstruing.
hold
the
on.
sense where
Let me
you are-
finish.
Yeah, I don't think he's
Here's
wrong.
Here's
I
the thing. You're like me. You're like all fans, right? You get hyped up about it, and I get it. Like, this guy is your new savior, but because you still have the cancer in the club, which is Daniel Levy, I'm going to give it a 50% chance that he's out in 1 year.
I'm
That's a little bit dramatic.
gonna
Let's
just
look at the
Hold on,
last
hold on,
two
wait,
major
Connie.
winning coaches.
Let me just
Hold on,
count that
Brad,
quickly,
Brad,
Connie.
but I will. I'll let you in.
No, it's Spurs.
Okay,
Let me say it.
go ahead.
Spurs. Let me say it. If that were the case, it would not be a 4-year deal. If it was 2 years, I would agree with you. Absolutely, that's likely going to happen. Something has happened recently within the club and within Daniel Levy's demeanor and how he's dealing with this and the decisions he's making. I'm not saying he's not going to still make bad decisions, because he always does, and that's something we're used to. But you don't give a manager like this a 4-year deal unless you're buying into what it is that he's going to ask you to do, and it's going to take more than a year. He's going to Postecoglou's come in and said, here's what I've done at every club I've gone to. It always starts rocky. Be prepared for it to be difficult for the first 6 to 8 months, possibly a year. But you give me the time that I deserve, and you will get results. This is my CV. It's happened everywhere I've gone. There's no way in hell that he does not get at least a season and a half before it starts to get questionable. So if he gets to 18 months in and it's like we're still shit, sure, I agree with you. Then there's a conversation to be had there. I don't think that'll be okay, and I don't think Levy takes that risk.
There's improvement.
Sorry.
Like, let's say you finish 10th and there's improvement, like, and you can see it. Like, are you okay for burning a season? I don't think that's a bad thing.
I think that's a given.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, I want to go back. I want to go back to the
18
Levy
months.
thing, because this is the biggest misnomer when it comes to Daniel Levy. When coaches like Jose Mourinho and coaches like Conte go there, they are very, very well aware of what their budget is and what they're worth. I don't think Levy denies that or hides that. I think he's pretty transparent with them. You know what managers like Jose Mourinho and fucking Conte do at 12 months in or 9 months in or 18 months in? They're like, I don't care what the budget is. I want this guy, and I don't care how much he costs. That's how they behave. That's how they act. That's not on Levy. I feel like Levy sets the standard for these guys all the time, and they're like, I'm Mourinho, I'm Conte, I don't care. We need 3 more players. It's going to cost $150 million. And Levy's like, when did I ever tell you that we had $150 million? We don't. So I think it's easy to shit on Levy.
Connie, let me just
But come on, my bro. You know I'm not wrong.
No. You're not totally wrong, but you're a bit wrong. And let me explain why I think you're a bit wrong, because I think that's partially true. I do think that Levy does have when a manager comes in, he gives them a sense of like, here's how things are going to function, and here's why. And that's true. But what we have seen Levy do, and has done in every scenario when it comes to every transfer, is wait, hold out, try to pinch. And those deals that
Bruno.
So when it comes to like a Skriniar, for instance, was on the table at one point, and we were trying to get Skriniar, and we ended up with the Welsh guy. What's his name? Anyway, Welsh defender.
Wasn't it Langley?
No, not Langley. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Point being is that he makes any transfer that they want take way too long and cost. The cost is very, very little in the difference between getting it over the line. That's the problem with Levy. It's true to the point of flaw, though, because we don't end up getting Rodon. Thanks, Ben. Ben in the comments says Rodon was the defender.
Oh, that's right.
We brought Rodon in, and he played a fucking 5 games, maybe max, off the bench. The thing that Levy does really poorly is he penny pinches to the point of nobody wants to work with him anymore, and we can't get the players that we need to get over the line, the Dybalas of the world, who we didn't want to pay for his transfer right or his
image rights.
Image rights. Like those types of things is what Daniel Levy's poor at, and why managers end up going, you had it there. Like, we could have got this guy. This guy could have been at Spurs. Grealish, $7 million we could have got Grealish for.
Really?
$7 fucking million, and he skimped on it $1 million, and Grealish ends up going for whatever fucking shit to Man City. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. That is not something a manager can do anything about. The manager sits there and goes, "You had that chance and you didn't fucking take it. What is wrong with you, dude?"
Hey, you know what? I got a small counter.
That's the thing I think JP is talking about, though, is that Levy gets in the way.
Levy does that. He gets in the way of everything. He's literally the best thing for Tottenham and the worst thing.
The ask for Mourinho and Conte were like, we need to revamp the whole squad. It's going to be $250 billion. It's like, dude, this is Spurs, not Man City, not Newcastle. Like, there was a lack of realism.
There's never $250 million to spend ever.
I'm throwing out a number, but you know what they would have asked for? Like, hey, go get me this guy. He's this third best in a position in the world. And it's like, I don't think it was realistic. And then they got to the point where they're like, well, what the fuck are we doing here? I need those guys need fully to be bankrolled in order to do. But
this is an example. Ben's pointed out. This is under Redknapp. 2011, we were top of the league or around top of the league in January, looking to get Gary Cahill in and Tevez in. Instead, we got Ryan Nelson and Luis Saha. Like that's the skimpiness we're talking about. And that's every single time we're on the cusp. He does that shit, and it's just incredibly frustrating.
One thing I did find out is as you were going on and on and on about all your frustration about David Levy and finally just airing out the problems you have with your club. And I get it. You said you guys wouldn't give Paul, what's this guy's name? I can't say his name.
I can't tell either.
Freaking Paul's like, hey, have JP say his name. I can't
either.
It's easy, guys. Postecoglou. It's easy. Pasta.
All right. Well, Pasta got a 4-year contract, right? And you said he wouldn't fire him within 1 year, right?
I'm not saying he wouldn't. I'm saying it's less likely. When a club puts that much of
Jose Mourinho got a 4-year.
Okay, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It's Jose.
You want to make a bet? I'll make a bet with JP. I'll see he lasts this full season. What do you want to make a bet? Put your money where the mouth is.
Look, it's not even
12-pack of beer.
Done.
It's not even like
of course Spursy, dude. It has to happen. Like
no way. He's a good manager.
What is Dylan, JP? Like you guys have been shit for so long, and you're making
we have. I'm not arguing this, but you know what? I'm trying to think here. Steven Gerrard got fired probably 2 weeks short of a year, so we do fire a coach.
Yeah, but you can't comment on this guy without knowing that much about him either, JP.
It's not about him. It's not about him.
So what?
But it is, JP. It is about him. Hear me out. Here's why.
It's about Levy.
No, it is about Levy, but Pochettino lasted 5 years under Levy.
Yeah.
What was the difference there?
He might have been the only person that liked Levy.
What was the difference there, JP? What was the difference?
I actually liked him. I don't know the difference. It just seems like Levy rubs everybody weird.
The difference there is it was the type of manager, not an elite manager, a Conte or Mourinho, who was supposed to be this big big thing that wins things no matter what. This Postecoglou's come in as a humble 57-year-old man who's done some shit for his entire career, and he's being given the keys to the kingdom to some extent. And I think, I think it's a bit different than comparing him to Mourinho or
the only thing I agree with you is it is different. It is 100% different. And Spurs, in a strange way, it goes better for them when it's the guy no one's really in love with when it happens. It's not the Contes, it's not the Mourinhos, right? It's the Pochettinos who, when they got him, everyone was like, okay.
Exactly.
Like that might be
going to work. And then he ended up being the most successful Spurs.
Yeah, Paul, he was a PL manager, but he was out of Southampton. He didn't throw Tottenham fans apart.
And I don't think that's relevant, Paul, at all.
Like he was in the comments.
He doesn't want to jump on. Apparently he can't. I don't know.
He's busy.
Whatever. Paul, just make it
I think this could be a very and Paul's a Celtic fan, by the way, so he should be able to speak to it a little bit.
Ben dropping some knowledge on this. I like this. Who's this Ben guy?
Ben is a Spurs fan. He's part of Tottenham.
I'm sorry, Ben.
Hey, JP, shut the fuck up, right? He's part of Tottenham. He's a good friend of mine, and he supports the best club in the world.
I like him. He's dropping some good stuff here.
What about Villa? What were you guys looking at in the transfer market? You're riding high after you're finished.
We were. I
We're
was
not changing the
super-
topic here, Connie, just because fucking Villa.
Oh, sorry.
Fuck, what do you need? You need another 30 minutes?
Well, hold on.
Fuck.
We'll get to Villa, but I do want to.
What we're doing is we're ending the show because you're not part of
Well,
the conversation, JP.
Well,
No
we
one cares.
gotta get to the elephant in the room, because I read a report today, and it's this time of the year, and it's every year.
You're right, Paul, and this is a Spurs comment. It's the only one getting on the screen. You prick.
Where are we? Where are things at, to your knowledge, Brian? You would know much more than us because you're following it very closely. I think we're all following it. Where do you think things are at with Harry Kane and his future with Spurs?
Oh man, this is a tough one because I was just looking at Twitter just before we went live today. It was 4 hours ago. Kane deal was done. Agreed. Clubs agreed. Kane's gone.
Real Madrid.
Yeah, and then like an hour later, too much money, 115 million. Real Madrid are out. Don't want to pay it. The deal's off. And it's just like, do I believe any of that? So here's the thing. You just talked about JP. You just talked about, and for good reason, and you're correct in your assessment of Levy and his ridiculousness. There's no way in hell that this potential Kane deal doesn't last until the end of the transfer window, or at least until halfway through it. Any speculation that a deal's been
longer,
a deal's been made for Kane to go to Real Madrid now without Levy doing Levy is absurd.
Hold on a second.
Unless he has an agreement with Postecoglou where he says, I'm okay with Kane going, I need the money, give me the money, and let's move forward, and I'm going to use the money for the things I need it for. That's different.
Coming in out of the blue.
Everybody hold on.
Get him out of here.
This is not a Spurs channel. Anybody who's watching, we promise.
Dave, Paul, we're talking about Spurs right now. What do you get out of here?
Everyone gets.
This is not a Spurs
Someone's
channel.
mic is going crazy.
Everyone relax. Okay, so
Paul, you have the video up, dude. The echo is insane.
Talk about a great way to ruin a stream.
No, hold on. Relax. Can you guys hear the echo?
It's Paul. Paul, mute your
get him outta
shit,
here.
Paul, for fuck's sake.
Okay, but here's my issue. Let's stay on topic here, and everyone's getting a little bit out of control here. We're trying to have a serious conversation. Are we all not on the same page here that it's very, very, very important to Harry Kane to beat Alan Shearer's record and be the leading goal scorer in the Premier League?
Are we reaching here?
No,
you're not reaching. JP, do you think that's a reach?
Hold on, David.
What
would you choose, the Champions League title or an EPL scoring record?
That's why I'm bringing it up, man. I think that record that he's worked so hard towards means more to him than you think, and we've talked about it on this show. So is he really going to, as he gets so close to it, is he going to leave to go abroad, the captain of England? I don't see him leaving the Premier League. I'm just going to be real clear.
Oh, he's not leaving the Premier League.
No, and I don't see him leaving Spurs potentially, but he's not going to Real Madrid, man. I don't think he wants to leave London.
So I'm gonna chime in here if you don't mind, because I have a bit of a sense of what likely is happening here. If he does leave to go to Real Madrid, he's 29 going on there, just turned 30. He has, and we spoke about this in the WhatsApp a little bit. He has probably a good, I would say, 3 to 5 years at the high level. Some people say 2. Oh, he's played a lot. So did a bunch of other players. Ronaldo's played a lot. He's still he's almost 40. Players play a lot. Depends on the player and the position they play in. But Kane, if he did go to Real Madrid, it's arguably the only place Levy will sell him to, because Levy's not going to sell him to a rival. It's just not what Levy does. He doesn't want to see him playing in a United shirt or a Chelsea shirt or any other shirt. Yeah. So if he's going to sell him, he's going to sell him to somebody like Real Madrid, where he's going to get the money he thinks he deserves to get, which will be over 100 million.
It'll be 100 at least.
A minimum of 100. He's asked 115 from Real Madrid, apparently, according to new reports. He's not going to go there, or unless the valuation that Levy has made for him is met. It doesn't matter.
Isn't that bad business? Isn't that short term?
Yeah, probably, Paul. I don't agree with it. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. I'm just saying that's
without it becoming about where Harry Kane should go or not go. Eriksen should have been sold. He wasn't. Should have been reinvested into the squad. Levy seems to be like, it's been well discussed that he's very bad at knowing what to do and when to do it, and then he shortchanges things. But this just feels like from a just strictly like if you looked at this as like as a GM opportunity to run a club, you've got a guy who's got 1 year left on the deal. Clubs are going to offer you 80 million plus for what is accounts for 1 year of contract because you don't know if he's going to sign another one. To not sell him just feels like you keep him for 1 more year guaranteed, but you're probably hurting yourself unless you know for sure he's going to re-sign. You're hurting yourself for what needs to be the real goal for Spurs, which is to get back to your heights in the next 3 or 4 years.
Time out. Does he have
No.
1 year? Does he have this next season and another season, or does he have this
this
next
is last
season left?
Next,
1 year.
next season
Oh,
is the last season. He
Then
needs.
Paul's correct.
No, Paul is 100% correct. I don't disagree with that. I do think it's the right thing to do to sell him and take the 115 million or 120 million and spend it on the rebuild that clearly Ange is going to need, the players Ange is going to ask for, and have the money to spend it on it. It is arguably what he should do. Now, the other thought from arguably from Levy's perspective is the amount of money Levy makes off of Kane propaganda, Kane shirts, Kane, all of the things that Kane does. He is Tottenham Hotspur. Kane is Tottenham Hotspur. If he
really
loses
is.
that, he loses many of the fans and many of the things. It's like losing Son in the Korean market. You lose Kane, you lose like the England, you lose
What
England.
is the temperature right now, Brian, with
All
the
those things go
Spurs
away.
fans, given that there's reasons to be excited about your new manager, but he's not exactly a brand name. He's not a household name. I don't know how Spurs feel about some of the attachments with certain managers and ended up getting this guy. Could be like not great news. But then if they were to lose Kane this window or this summer in addition, like would this be along with all the shit that's happening with the Levy out, like protests outside the stadium, is this potentially like a huge PR nightmare if they do sell Kane, even if they say get 100 million and they sell him somewhere in Germany?
Brad, before you answer, Kane not being at Spurs at the beginning of next season is absolute worst case scenario. I think it's devastating. There's no way to deny that. Brad, would you disagree with that?
I'm going to answer Paul's question first, since he asked me the question first, and then I'll answer your question. I think,
question.
well, sort of. So Kane leaving Spurs for many of Spurs fans, and it's split. I would say it's probably split. I don't know what percentage. It's a travesty to lose Harry Kane. It would be the worst possible thing ever because arguably, and you guys might disagree, other people might disagree. Best number 9/10 on the planet when it comes to work.
Sure. No one
no
would disagree
argument.
with that.
Some people argue it. I'm just putting it out there. I'm just giving that statement in advance. He is incredibly valuable. Now, we've just invested in a new manager for a 4-year term who plays a very specific type of football, who will not discount or change the way he plays based on the players he has. He will get players in that he needs to fit his system. Harry Kane, arguably, at this point, and this is me speaking, I know Ben in the comments might disagree, and any other Spurs fans might not fit into the system unless you push him into a 10 and have him play a different role, and then have maybe Richarlison play that 9 role that is slightly isolated in a Postecoglou system. So something has to give there. Like, does Kane recognize his vulnerability in the system and is willing to change what he's going to do within?
So you're still answering the PR question, right? Like the general atmosphere of the fans.
PR-wise, there's nothing good about losing the best player you've ever had at your club. That's never going to be a good thing. But if it's a good thing because it's going to make the team better next season,
right?
There are some of us who are willing to accept that being the case.
And, so amongst the fan base who might appreciate that this might be the right time.
To rebuild. If he doesn't end up at a Premier League team, right? That's the caveat. So
is that worst case scenario?
If he goes to United, Spurs fans are going to be fucking pissed off across the board.
I will be elated.
So then, alternative question. Let's say he plays out the rest of his contract this year, and then he's free to pick a club next year wherever he wants. Let's say you guys finish 4th. Optimistically, you're in Champions League. Things are on the up.
Yeah, that's wishful thinking.
But he is looking for a chance to win titles, and the project is still not quite there yet. If he does move on and he's not sold, he moves on by his own choice for free to another club. Has he done enough to cement that status, or is this going to be like shit?
Bless him. I think probably 90% of Spurs fans would just say, Harry, you've suffered with us enough.
You should
Go
say
do
that
it.
now. Yeah,
No.
and that's not a knock on Spurs.
No, no,
If
I
he
think-
wanted to go this summer, let him go, man.
Oh, it's now as well. But
Yeah.
it's just not to United, not to a rival. We don't want to see him go to a rival and then compete against him
We do.
to finish where we want to finish. We just don't want to see it. You do.
And I
You
get
want
that.
him. You want him,
Of course I do.
Going
But
to Real Madrid. Going to Real Madrid is perfect because
to
it
circle
means
back,
he's out of the
circle
league.
back to JP's
Doesn't
comment.
affect me.
I think if you add Harry Kane into that Real Madrid team, that Man City it changes because he's got the legs that Benzema doesn't have. He improves Real Madrid that makes them competitors to Man City for the Champions League. My point is, how do you work so hard for so many seasons in a tough Premier League and get so close to that illustrious record to then walk away from that and potentially never get it?
He's not walking away from the record.
I'm saying potentially.
He goes to Real Madrid, wins a title, maybe wins the Champions League, wins a cup, and then comes back to Spurs 2 seasons later at 32. He needs 45 goals to break his record.
It's harder, man.
Well, that's not.
You don't know injuries and this that. Like that was a
Injuries. He's been injury free for 3 seasons.
You just said that very casually. Like
Yeah,
he
to walk away from the league and then go to Real
I
Madrid.
said it casually, Connie,
comes
because it's
back.
wishful fucking thinking. All right, let me have
I
it.
know. Okay, well,
Yeah.
just at least preface.
Can
it.
I
Let me
just-
have it. Let me have it.
But he,
Can
like,
I just-
my general take is he is absolutely English through and through. I can't
Yeah.
see him or his family going somewhere hot
He's
because
also
it'll be too hot.
he's got 3 kids and he's got 1 on the way. So
Yeah.
they're all in school. They all
Nobody
live in
speaks
London.
Spanish. I guarantee it.
You guys know
I
what's
just-
going to happen. He's going to sign a new contract in like a month.
Probably.
100%.
I think he'll sign for Spurs again.
Guaranteed.
I wouldn't say guaranteed. I
So do
wouldn't
I.
say guaranteed. I think there is certain things that might make him lead to make a different decision, but I think it's likely that he signs for Spurs again. And I'm sure he's going to get a bunch of grief because he's not. He doesn't want to win things. He's not a winner. Blah blah blah.
Well,
which is fine. You can
But
say
we
that
talk
about
about
anything.
money. We talk about money. Who's to say he doesn't play another 4 seasons here and then goes and gets his $200 million for 1 season in the Saudi league? That's the way it's kind of trending right now,
plays for
right?
Inter Miami with the
Yeah. But man, would he look good in red?
Ugh.
I think
Nobody
I
looks
think he
good in
goes.
red.
I'll be honest. I think he goes this summer.
I don't think he does.
Where do you think, Paul?
I think he goes to Man United, probably the most attractive option for him right now.
Not
But
going to Manchester, dude. No way.
There's plenty of players that live in London and play in Manchester.
Levy will not do business with Manchester United. I'm sorry.
But what if he pulls a Burba?
there is a
What if-
certain degree of player power in these situations.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and also, my
He doesn't-
understanding is that
He doesn't have it.
gave Spurs based
Yes, he
on
does.
probably conversations and agreements down the road. I think he gave them more time than we all probably
should've.
know. I wouldn't be surprised if after Poch went, after Jose went, like there are so many things that have gone wrong that I'm sure he's had conversations and his agents have had conversations about what
His
going
agent,
from Spurs looks like
Brother.
and what a fair offer is considered. And I just
what Paul, quick question for you. What do you think Man United are willing to pay for Harry Kane? And what do you think
I think
Levy
it kind of depends.
what do you think Levy would actually allow that you
If
guys
the ownership comes in who we think are going to come in, if they have the bank that we think they have, I can see
very,
him
very low.
getting about 100 mil. And
He
that's not to
wants
say
way
he's
more.
worth 100 mil. We'll pay over the odds for
He's
him,
more
but
than-
we
he's worth
will
more than
sell
that.
jerseys and we will make him a face of
Yo,
the season.
He's worth more than 100 mil.
In today's market,
I don't think any
At
player for
29?
one season, because he's got one contract year
Spurs,
left,
It
is
doesn't
worth more
matter
than
what
100
you
mil.
think he's worth in the market. It's what he's worth to Levy. He's worth more than 100 mil to Levy.
I
That
don't
1
think
year
any
left,
one
Brian,
player,
plays
even if he
no
scores 40 goals a year, is worth 100 mil. That's crazy.
like
Like
he's
that ends up being like 10
Thank
million
you,
a
Paul.
month for that.
Thank you,
contract.
Paul.
But Paul, at the
It's
same
just
time,
fact.
I agree with
the
you.
value of a player is based
Declan
on what the
Rice.
club ownership
Yeah,
want to charge
Declan
for.
Rice.
Yeah, I
Mo-
understand that, but
Moises
it's also
Caicedo,
what I'm
80.
saying is I think he and his people probably had conversations about what they consider to be a fair deal.
He doesn't have people. He has his brother.
For him to still be at Spurs and never to have made any waves, I just cannot see how he and his people haven't had conversations about if it continues to go wrong, if another manager gets fired, if we continue to struggle, if we're not in Champions League, I need to know that I can move on and I'll have that option. And then you're not going to keep me in a golden cage where nobody can afford to get me out if I want to go.
That's Levy, though. Levy owns the golden cage, dude.
I totally get like Levy's the wild card. I just think
Okay.
they've always seemed to have a good relationship. He's never made waves there, and I just think
He
that's
made waves
probably
with City,
because
but, like,
they've had conversations.
Hold on, guys. This
Total speculation. I just
if he
imagine
really
that's
wants
probably
to
what it is.
go and he's been the biggest consummate professional, maybe in the Premier League for like the last 5-10 years. Like if he said, listen, if Levy's like, you're not going anywhere, this amount of money, he could make it go messy. He could go to the press. He could say, I'm not going to play. And then that becomes a fucking PR nightmare for Spurs and the new manager. And it's not ideal. I don't see Kane doing that. I see him more as the Stevie G, like, hey, like this is my club. But man, if he wants to go, I think Paul's right. He's like, hey man, it's my turn. I've put in my time. I've given you everything and more. You got to meet me in the middle, but then it'll come down to a number. That's where Brian is.
There is also the aspect of
it comes down to what Levy wants. Whether you think
No.
he can have player power or not, he doesn't under Levy.
I'm going to introduce a second way of thinking about it as well, because this may change things. He is also at a certain age where no matter what, Spurs, again, you're not going to be winning anything for the next couple of seasons because you're in a rebuild mode, quote unquote. You do need to start thinking about who is going to lead the line when he goes out, either because he's been sold or because he is aging out of being that number 9. Like they may be looking at the striker market right now and saying, we could probably get somebody who's young and could be that guy in a couple of seasons, and selling Harry Kane could fund that plus a couple other players. Like there is a certain evaluation of like the striker market right now. So you almost have to look at it beyond just what one season looks like for everybody across the board. I still think that, like I said it before, I think selling Harry Kane, if you can get fucking 80 to 100 million for Spurs, is the right thing to do.
I agree with that. And that is 100% correct. If you're reasonable in a club owner that normally functions in the realms of reality. We're talking about Daniel Levy here, and what we know about him: penny pincher, control freak, wants to make sure that whatever happens in the way he wants it to happen. It's his contract that he wrote for Harry Kane, that Harry Kane signed 5 years ago or 5 seasons ago, that he's coming into the end of that contract. He's holding him. Nice one, Ben. He's holding him, period, until he wants to hold him. The Kane player power does not exist in Tottenham Hotspur. It is whatever Levy wants, Levy gets.
Let's leave that to
you can argue with that.
Disagree.
As much as you want to try, you don't
he's
have
one of maybe 3 players in the Premier League. I'd say Kane, Salah, and KDB, that if they went to the team and the manager and said, I'm out of here, they're
not. I would agree with that in any other ownership. Levy does what Levy fucking wants, and Levy will put the price so high that he won't be able to leave.
And you're not wrong, Brad, but let's agree on this one thing, that if Kane wanted it and he really wanted it, he'd have to force it, and it would have to get really messy, and I think it would get real ugly.
I don't think it has to.
Possibly, but like you said before, and like most people recognize, that isn't very much Harry Kane.
No,
he doesn't do that. Like he's a consummate professional. He loves the club. He grew up with the club. He's not going to be in a scenario where he's going to be like, now I'm gonna be this kind of guy. It's just not who he is.
But let's circle back to Paul, right? Because you say he's a finance guy. What does it mean to Spurs financially if you let him go into this next season with no additional signed contract? Like, what? I don't know. I mean, fiscally,
I feel like it's a big mistake for Levy not to consider what Paul's talking about. Like, I do think he should be actively figuring out a way to manage the situation, like being on top of me, saying we're going to do this for Harry Kane, whatever that looks like, whether that's selling him, whether that's bringing in, obviously Postecoglou is probably not the manager that's going to convince Harry to stay, paying him $1 million a week or whatever, players are, you know what I mean, as an exaggeration, paying him so much money a week that like he can't turn it down. And it's the highest level of money he's ever been paid in his life. There's something he can do to keep him, and whether he makes those right decisions, I don't have a lot of confidence that he will. And I think in the end, Harry Kane's going to get what Harry Kane wants when his contract is out. I don't think it happens this season. It's
going to play out how we all kind of know it plays out. He's going to go away from football for a while. He's going to have his time away with his family, have a think about things, come back to Spurs, meet the new manager, have some conversations. he's either going to have made up his mind that he's going to ask to go, or he's going to say, I'm happy to do something. But for leaving, like for Spurs, really their goal should be, okay, you're back. It's the summer. Are you going to sign an extension?
He needs. He agreed.
If he doesn't sign an extension this summer, then that's a worry. If they
Oh,
go
100%. No, the bottom line is Kane has the power post the contract. As soon as the contract runs out, he's on a free. He goes wherever he wants. He gets what he wants. For Kane, that's the best scenario because he'll get a sign-on bonus. So all of the expensive things you normally get when you buy a player are gone because he's on a free. So his wages can go way up. All the things that you make it better for him in that scenario. So for Kane, he's not stressed out. He's like, all right,
Brian,
I'll run my
if you're
contract
Levy,
here. I'll play for Spurs one more season. Maybe it works out. Maybe we win a cup. Maybe we end up loving Postecoglou and I want to stay and I'll sign another contract. But I have another year to make that decision. And Levy's sitting there going, yeah, you have another year. You have the year. I'm only going to give you that because I'm not going to let you do anything else. That's sort of where it's at.
He lets him play and walk for free.
It's dumb as fuck.
Diabolical.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And that is fiscally, you're talking about a guy you get at least $100 million for that's 29, dude.
I think we're all saying the same thing. We all kind of agree it's good business
the choir, buddy.
Talking about, but Brian's right. Like he's got the best read of Levy be kind of an idiot.
He can do what he wants. He's got 1 year left in his contract to play for the team that he loves. Playing for more new manager. What's another one? We've got 3 in the last fucking 2 years. What's another one? Maybe this new manager, gives him like motivation and makes him like, oh, you know what? Maybe I will another contract. We just won a cup, or we're I see something that I haven't seen since Pochettino. Kane has been asking for that for ages and hasn't gotten it from any of the managers that have come in. This is a manager that maybe will give him that. I don't know.
So this has all been wild speculation, and we're kind of getting in the heads of various people. Let's just do a quick round table. JP California, does he stay or go this year?
Oh, I'm still here? Oh, okay. He leaves.
You can just
Real Madrid. We said this 3 weeks ago. He's going to Real Madrid. I said it.
David, leaves or goes?
Stays.
Brian?
Stays.
Paul?
I still think he goes.
50-50.
But time will tell. Not debating anything anymore because it's just a wait and see brief.
What other transfers we got going on?
Do you guys remember us talking about? Can we just back up for a quick second and say, remember like 3 weeks ago when we were doing this exact same topic over, and I said, guys, just think about it. Karim Benzema leaves. They get rid of him this summer. Who do they want? They want Harry Kane. Harry Kane goes in there, helps them win a Champions League, helps them win a new league title, and it's all roses for Harry Kane. Do you guys remember?
You just ignore all of the things that like that we just spoke about.
Why are you saying it like it's happened though?
Yeah, like you just ignore everything. It's so funny.
You get fixated on one thing, JP, and it does. Carlos,
you guys missed the key part.
There was no key part. Half of it. You didn't say anything key at all.
No. Here's the thing.
Literally, I said Karim Benzema was going to leave before it happened.
So what?
It was already reported. So
this was a month ago.
Real Madrid wants him, and they're going to pay for him, and they're going to make a run for him. The question we're posing to everybody is what we know about him. Not likely to leave England. He barely likes leaving London.
No, that's not that's not making it about Kane. JP is saying that he was aware that Benzema might leave, and he's calling out.
So what? That doesn't change anything.
I'm actually going to stick to my story here, right? I'm going to stick to my story that I said a month ago before there was any whispers of Benzema leaving. That Benzema was going to leave, and Harry Kane's going to go and replace him. And I'm sticking to the story the whole way.
Guys, the North End fan show, we call the future. We're that aware of things.
I call it.
You know, if this happens, it's going to be Haaland 2.0. We're never going to hear the NFL.
Fuck.
You know what?
Let's not even start that.
And JP will be worth it every single time. JP, we talk about Spurs. I know you don't like talking about other teams for too long. What is going on? What is going on with Villa, or what other PL rumors or transfers would you like to speak about?
Oh, the sun beamed down. Is someone going to turn this off real quick? No.
All right, thanks for listening, folks. Like and subscribe. Hit that, smash that like button.
Did anybody ask JP what the weather's like?
Yeah, we did in the beginning.
Yeah, he talked.
No, next pod we'll bring up Villa. Let's do it next pod. We're already an hour and a half.
Yeah, we've gone a long time here.
That's fair.
It's been a pleasure, guys. Absolute pleasure. Fantastic stuff. Paul, thanks for joining us eventually, I guess.
I liked it. He added a lot.
Okay.
Once he muted his phone or whatever.
Once he stopped talking nonsense, he was great. And
got us on track.
But
thanks for your judgment, Brian. I enjoyed hearing about Spurs.
Well, no, you're in the comments like, this is not a Spurs podcast. I'm like,
hey, it's not a Spurs podcast?
Literally, this
fucking could have fooled me.
Literally, it was the topic on the fucking thing you made. So,
we don't. What?
Amazing. Anyway,
It's a good
make sure you like and
conversation.
subscribe. Despite this fucker over here, like and
No,
subscribe.
take it easy.
And
Everyone
for
behave.
this guy, it's good, and for this guy down here, subscribe as well. JP, Paul, David, been a pleasure, guys. If you're watching, thank you for supporting us. We appreciate you. We will see you next time.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
This is the North End. This is the North End.